Ryan Glover here. Today is the day. Social media users are calling it a gender reveal, but experts are calling it the most consequential election in modern history. Ryan Glover, live from Washington, D.C. We're in the state's capital. Today, history is in your hands. How are you feeling, and who do you believe is going to win the presidential election? I'm driving around D.C., heading to Black Lives Matter Square, where the press is already out right in front of the White House today. They're saying that there is going to be potential riots. Do you think there will be potential violence if Donald Trump is elected? He's been quoted as saying that there will be a bloodbath if he isn't elected to the presidency. Biden had condemned those remarks. I think, that today is going to be an incredible day in American history, regardless. The 2024 election polls, Harris and Trump hold final campaign rallies on the eve of Election Day. Both candidates held rallies in Pennsylvania, which is a crucial battleground state. Former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris hit the trail to deliver their closing message in the final hours before Election Day. Harris had several events scheduled in Pennsylvania, including a star-studded rally in Philadelphia in the evening. Trump, who secured a major endorsement tonight from Joe Rogan, held rallies in North Carolina and Pennsylvania before his last campaign event in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Their running mates had busy schedules too. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, the Democratic vice presidential nominee, and Senator J.D. Vance of Ohio, the Republican vice presidential nominee, both held events in the key battleground states of Michigan and Wisconsin. I'm here on the ground in Washington, D.C., driving around the state capitol. You can see that many of the buildings have been boarded up because, as I've said, that there's supposed to be rioting. D.C. Mayor Muriel E. Bowser sought to reassure residents on Monday that the city is prepared for whatever this election may bring. There's new security fences seen around key D.C. sites ahead of Election Day. Federal government officials and local police are ramping up security measures at key locations across Washington, D.C. On Sunday, news crews were seen working on fencing off the Naval Observatory where Vice President Kamala Harris lives. D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser told Fox 5 that the district has been preparing for the election for months, and heightened security measures will be in place through the inauguration in January. D.C. Police Department has put out a traffic notice on social media ahead of Harris' election night party at Howard University as street closures, no parking zones, and transit detours will be in effect. Fencing can be seen around the White House ahead of the November 5th, 2024 presidential election. The U.S. Secret Service is working closely with our federal, state, and local partners in Washington, D.C. and Palm Beach County, Florida, to ensure the heightened levels of safety and security this election day. An email statement from the U.S. Secret Service reads, "In the coming days, fencing and other physical public safety measures will be installed around the Naval Observatory, White House, and the Palm Beach County Convention Center. These enhancements are not in response to any specific issue, but are part of wide-ranging public safety preparation for Tuesday's election. No current threats exist to the U.S. capital city ahead of the election," the Hill reports, but precautions are being taken in case the election results cause unrest. I understand why store owners, especially local businesses, would want to do that. We've seen, how these elections can play out last year. In the last election, with the Capitol building, we've seen, that the Trump supporters came to the Capitol and caused riots. So the U.S. Capitol Police have to be certainly concerned about potential violence, especially if Kamala Harris is elected president. I think also that on the other side of that, if Donald Trump wins the election, I think Black Lives Matter protesters, Antifa, these other groups especially have been shown to show violence in the past. But I'm driving around D.C., heading to Black Lives Matter Square. I think that regardless of who wins this election, and it's going to be a historic election, and it doesn't really matter who becomes president, because the president is just a figurehead. It really starts at your local government. It's November 5th, and I'm here live outside of Black Lives Matter Plaza on Election Day. Black Lives Matter Plaza is a 2-block section of street which adds to Washington, D.C.'s long list of sites rooted in the fight for racial equality. News reporters are already out in front of Black Lives Matter Plaza, ready to report on any election day violence that occurs, like, such as if Donald Trump or Kamala Harris wins the election. I think, that this is a historic day in American history, regardless of who wins this election. But we've never lived in more divisive times since perhaps like the Civil War. The Civil War, obviously was in 1861 from 1865. And since no other time in history have we probably had such a divisive time in the nation as this, where the far right and the leftist liberals disagree on so many different issues that are dividing this nation, whether it goes for abortion. But it's going to be a happy election day. Hopefully, I want to encourage everyone who is eligible to go out and vote today. To find your vote center location, visit the Vote for DC website at dcboe.org. In anticipation of Election Day and the potential for civil unrest, there are many businesses in the district that have decided to board up. The cost of this extra reinforcement is having a financial impact on some owners, including businesses along 1250 I Street in Northwest. Tall wooden walls were put up to protect the office building and retail spaces on the ground floor. People are going to be missing out on being able to go to some of the favorite restaurants they probably like Pow Pow. The restaurant is hidden behind a boarded up wall with only one sign on the sidewalk and one sign barely poking up above. It's definitely impacted the business. Late Monday night, crews removed part of the wall blocking Pow Pow. A construction worker told DC News Now that the owner of Pow Pow wanted it gone.
Ryan Glover, I'm here at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, and Donald Trump will not be coming to the White House. I'm here, to celebrate the preeminent victory of Vice President Kamala Harris. I think, this is a historic occasion for America. The righteous person has won this election, and we're excited, that we won't have a fascist in the office for the next 4 years. Goodbye, Donald Trump. We won't have to hear from you until you pass away. We're so grateful, for America. You're not going to ruin it anymore. Thank you. I'm at Black Lives Matter Square, and this is a historic occasion. I think, it's showing that the world is actually changing. Vice President Kamala Harris is winning this election. I think, it shows, example, in America, that things are changing. This is for our daughters, our nieces, our sisters, our grandmothers, our mothers. I think, that it shows, fascism doesn't win. The good triumphs over evil.
I wanted to do this video about the Washington Monument, a 555-foot tall Egyptian obelisk in Washington, D.C. It has a rich history. It was designed by Robert Mills. He designed the monument to honor George Washington, the first president of the United States. The monument's shape was meant to evoke the timelessness of ancient civilizations. I wanted to take this time to say that Black lives do matter. And that Trump has shown that he doesn't care about Black lives throughout his career, whether it was calling for the Central Park 5 to be put to death, or the xenophobic remarks that he has made about Asian people, about Haitian people, saying that they eat pets. I think that he has demonstrated that he is not fit for leadership. We could go back to the COVID-19 pandemic, and in the way that he handled that situation, I think was very poorly. Millions of Americans lost their lives during the COVID-19 pandemic unnecessarily, and I feel that he is a huge person that is responsible for that because his administration got rid of the pandemic response team. I think that we need a capable leader. Kamala Harris has shown that she has an ability to lead, and she's a very competent, and I feel safe with America in her hands. I think that Donald Trump is divisive. I want you guys to use your decision to vote today and think about that, on your conscience, that we need, someone who is going to bring America together, not tear it apart. And that's all that Donald Trump is capable of. He has never had any success. All the businesses that he have been bankrupt and failed.